Hi, and
Hi, Banu. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Lovely to get connected with you
Yeah,
once in
it seems
quarter.
like
Yeah, it really feels good and motivated.
absolutely. No, it's really good. How are you all over there?
Yeah, we're all fine having a lot of audits happening,
Good.
most of it online. So we do the stakeholder consultations, most of it online, and then we have a couple of meetings with the client to freeze on the vision and objective activity scope and just brief meetings in and out. But most of the processes are now virtual, even the stakeholder consultations.
Do you think that will continue like that?
I think for the next 6 months, we can expect the same situation
Yeah.
in India. So we still have the third phase fear on, and we have the lockdown till 31st of this month. So we don't have the churches and temples open and public gatherings again restricted.
Right.
The offices can function and colleges limited 50% of the attendance like that. They're given an option for the colleges to function, universities. Schools, of course, online classes are on. How are things in the UK, London?
It's really weird because it sort of feels like that it's still happening and it's going on, but it's not high profile or important to the government anymore. And I think, and it feels like there's still a huge amount of disruption because a lot of young people are suffering.
Very sad.
So, you know, so colleagues of mine who have families, young children, you know, they're picking it up, they're sharing it, and it's going round. But people, older people like me, you know, had vaccinations, and my children are older, so you know, but I don't know. The infection rate is still very high. So yeah, it's very strange.
The sad part is many are not getting vaccinated for the fear of the effects of the vaccine having a greater impact on the COVID itself. So that is also there in our country.
That's a very, yes, I think there's a bit of that here too. There are people who don't want to be vaccinated or think it's unsafe, or, you know, they might have cultural or other reasons. So no, it is difficult. And I suppose there is always that worry that, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? It's based on a flu vaccine that has been used for years, so it shouldn't be that risky. But
very rare cases, and that is the sensation in the media, you know, how they blow it out of proportion. So
yeah,
the remotest of people are not aware of the advantages of having a vaccine and severity going down because of that. So a lot of awareness. The government is also making it mandatory now to fly within India or abroad to have that vaccine card with you. So
yeah.
I think only the legal process will get things better.
So hello, Colette.
Hi.
Hello. We are expecting a few more, probably at least 10 more people. There's a few people coming just now.
Lata also will be joining a bit later. She's in another audit meeting. So she'll be connected over phone, I think. So she'll be joining by the time we have a session on.
Okay. So maybe we'll give a couple more minutes and hope that I mean, I have had a couple of apologies this morning, but only 2. So there should be probably another 10 people. So not
now that you're, I presume you're recording the session, so you can share it to those
yes, I am
who could not
recording.
attend.
Yeah. A few people coming now. So Banu, are you okay to speak first? In, you know, starting in a few, say at 11:05?
Yeah.
You
can make me a co-host because I have got a PowerPoint and
will do.
document to share, so that.
Okay. Have you got that now, Banu?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Does anybody else need to be a co-host? Hi, Tracy. Dave's brought his band with him. Oh, dear. Okay. Okay, shall we go for 2 more minutes?
Yeah. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
How many were signed in, Anne?
There were 16, and I've had 2 apologies this morning.
Okay.
And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 9. So there's a few people. I know Lata's coming, isn't she, Banu? Okay, 1 more minute then. Go on. I'm just researching something for my presentation. Somebody sent me some really helpful links this morning, so I'm just putting them into the presentation.
Yeah, 1 more by you.
Shall we start then? Okay, yeah. So, good morning, everyone. This is the Social Audit Network's virtual roadshow talking about using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in social accounting. Welcoming Banu from San India, who's going to talk about some of the work that they've got happening over there using the Sustainable Development Goals. I think from what she's been telling me, they're quite well advanced in using them in their social accounting. And then I've just got a few slides with some thoughts to provoke some discussion, and then we're hoping that we get through all the slides in about 20 minutes between us, and then with that leaves us a good half an hour for a discussion around this topic, and in particular, you know, how it might be useful to use the Sustainable Development Goals going forwards, where to start perhaps, and any other sort of top tips and thoughts that people on the call have this morning. So can I hand over to Banu?
You're on mute.
I'm muted too early, sorry. Banu.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Lovely to be part of the SAN UK member forum, and thank you for the opportunity. I would like to discuss the topic on using SDGs in social accounting. I hope my screen is visible. Yes, so Lata will be joining me anytime now. So without much ado, I'll start the session. So we talk about social accounting and audit framework and SDGs. We see a lot of similarities. Yeah, we are of course thorough with our SAA manual and what we are reporting on. And we know the framework is enabling organizations to build on the existing documents, yeah, which we have, the reports or the reporting systems, which is evolved for the organization. And the team is to prove and to improve. Yeah, that is the USP of SAN framework. So when we talk of the SDGs, on the other hand, SDGs, we're talking about a global framework for organizations. Yeah, and again, the key focus is to see that the organizations, communities, and countries are able to measure and report on the triple bottom line, that is the social, economic, and environmental aspects, both from international recognized series of metrics as also within their own indicators of they have national level indicators in India. So in that matter also, you have your own indicator sets. It gives us a good leeway to report on the UN SDGs. So there are the detailed indicators, sub-targets specified for each of the SDGs, and it's a very good learning experience also when we went through those metrics. So when we talk of the similarities of SAA and SDG, I think we should take pride in saying that we were the predecessors of SDGs, much thought about ahead before the UN SDGs came into play and before it was made. CSR in India is also encouraging corporates to report on the SDGs. But I think Social Audit Network UK was a predecessor in saying that, yes, we are reporting on the triple bottom line, and most of the indicators are aligning with the SDGs, which has now been evolved. The difference, I would say, is for us, we are having a framework which will enable organizations to build on existing documents and reporting systems, whereas the SDGs is giving a global framework for organizations, communities, as well as countries to measure their social, economic, and environmental impacts. So we say the triple bottom line, the socio-economic and environmental verticals. So we have got, again, in the SDGs, 3 pillars: economic, environmental, and social pillar, in which we get classified all these 17 in that respective verticals. So again, why we need this particular reporting of SDGs or the social accounting in audit for that matter. The advantage is that we do both qualitative and quantitative analysis. Yeah. So with the indicators defined by the SDGs, whether it's global or national level, we have got a valid input which we can key in and come out with a qualified analysis for review. And it is a tool to just not only to monitor, but also to see how we can have the future progress with regard to people, plant, and prosperity in line. So it is an effective mechanism for us to track the program which we are engaging with. So it is a universal call of action, these SDGs, I would say, so that we focus on ending poverty, protecting the planet, and ensure by 2030, that is the timeline which we have given for SDGs, to see that all people have a peace and prosperous planet to live in. SAA, as I said, is specific to organizations and it is not made mandatory, but these SDGs are now being encouraged by organizations to see that they are aligning with the global index. So how do we integrate the SDGs in our social accounting and audit? What we do in SAN India, when we do the social accounts for an organization, we have a new section called SDG alignment. I'll show you some examples, and where we can put it in the annexure so that people can also see how the program is aligning with the Sustainable Development Goal agenda. And when we report on these SDGs, we can also see the advantage the organizations have towards contributing to the global goals. Yeah, and say that not only aligning to the organization's vision and mission and the national level interest of how we have prioritized our programs, but also see how we align with the global index and see whether we could have that measurable or have it at least in our plan to see for the future outcomes. So when we have this organization local goals be in sync with the global goals, the perspective totally changes. So any organization which is engaging in a program will see at the larger agenda and see how as a nation we could build up our program to achieve these SDGs. So as auditors for SAN, we encourage our clients to plan activities in such a way that they could align with these SDGs. Or if not, they have only a few or no SDG alignment for the program, which I don't think is possible because all the verticals are already covered in the CSR Act Schedule 7 in India or the SDGs for that matter. But we can always come back with a recommendation saying that we can work towards a global goal. So it's also a feel-good factor that beyond the state, beyond the nation, we are looking at a global agenda to see how our nation can move forward. So as I said, I have got a few reports of SAN India, which we had documented and had these SDG alignment done for leading organizations in India. I will zoom this. Becoming bigger. Probably I should. Is it visible? Yeah. Yes, we can. Can you see the screen? Yes. Okay. So when we say CSR agenda, corporate social responsibility agenda in our country, it's getting very strong now for corporates to report on the work they do, the impact they have created. And as I mentioned in the last session, if I'm right, the new amendment in the CSR Act in India defines any corporate spending more than 5 crore budget to engage in a third-party assessment. So we use a SAN framework to derive the social impact assessment report. So, but for the panel and what do I say, mentoring of a social auditor, that process, everything else happens in the way we report as per the SAN framework. Only thing is we have tweaked a few parameters like reporting on relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability factors. So based on the client's need, we report, but then we do have a section on SDG alignment. So this is an example for a corporate which we did. It's called Mindtree Foundation. And the program was focusing on disability, women and children, education, health and hygiene. So we have got several tools to tell us which SDG has got alignment with which program. And now I would like to announce rather at this forum that SAN India is now working towards developing a tool, either as a mobile app or a matrix, sort of a template where we could have these SDG alignment easily tracked. So it could be serving as a SDG tracker. So you put your programs, the indicators and all that, and it automatically tell you which SDG it is aligned with. Remember when matrix I shared a long time ago, I think 2 sessions ago, like that, we're trying to come out with an app. So it is simpler for anyone to understand and see which of the SDGs the program is aligning with. So when we talk about this particular program, which we are engaged, I think 2 years ago for Mindtree Foundation, and as I told you, the key focus area were defined. You can see that most of the programs align with SDG 1, no poverty. So any input you give, you have to see whether aligning with, starting from 1 to 17, which are these programs. So when we had these livelihood opportunities provided for a prison program in Karnataka, or a life skill program or a scholarship program, if we can always indicate that it leads to no poverty. By having education, you can earn your own income, or creating livelihood opportunities, you've got more income into the household where they can have enough food for the family. So we can align it to SDG 1, which is no poverty. There was also another program where they had these disabled people being provided mobility aids, physiotherapy support, early identification. So awareness programs are created around that. So medical support and screening and community-based rehabilitation centers, all that we could align with SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. Likewise, when they had education program, providing infrastructure for the tribal children or mainstreaming them in the schools, creating a skilled workforce for the youth and women. So we brought all that aligned with SDG 4, which was for quality education, to add on the tuition centers, of course, which they did. SDG 5 was on gender equality. So they had a program exclusively for the girl children and also for the women in the semi-urban areas, providing them more opportunities for sustainable livelihoods. So we could align that with SDG 5, which is gender equality. They had a program which was interestingly focusing on use of menstrual pads. So we aligned it with the sanitation program, which comes under SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. Like that, we can go on and on. They had employment opportunities for women, for rural, to start up small rural enterprises and placing the disabled youth in the organized sector. So we aligned it with decent work and economic growth. When they focus on tribal women and children who never had access to quality healthcare earlier, we thought it syncs with the agenda of 10, SDG 10, talking of reducing inequalities, where we had migrant children or the most marginalized sections not having access to education earlier. Now with the intervention of the organization, there have been equal opportunities. And all the CSR activities of Mindtree Foundation was done in coordination with partner non-government organizations. So of course, SDG 17 was seeing that it was aligning with that agenda as well. So it is a very simple exercise. We don't do it at the start, of course. So after we work with the program, get into the more details, know the nitty-gritties, and seeing the outcomes being mapped in our impact map framework, then we can easily list the SDGs the program is aligning with. I'll give you one more example. This is a large project of Larsen & Toubro Technology Solutions. This again had wide verticals like from watershed management, which is the most the funding pumping into, to the livelihood support for self-help groups, focusing on women entrepreneurs again here, and healthcare and school infrastructure. Some programs are also focused on solar electrification in rural villages. So what SDGs do you think align with these? Of course, I'm not go by the key focus area, what do I say, the order, but I will go as per SDG order. So when I told you any program on livelihood support, we are providing a better education leading to employment, will of course define as saying that we are moving out from poverty. So there's scope for more employment opportunities, yeah, providing more income generation programs, so the household has enough money and they can move out of this poverty zone. They also had a program where they had cattle and cow being provided as alternate employment. So when they have provided the cattle for the family, they could have milk, they had milk animals, so they can have more money or revenue from the milk they sold. So again, adding on to household income. So sustainable agriculture production was one program in the watershed. So the water table goes up. Again, they can have sustainable agriculture production. So leading to nutritious food, sufficient food, so linked to zero hunger. Good health and well-being, when they had eye care programs, free cataract surgeries being done, cancer awareness, and in fact, a program on maternal health, reduction in low birth babies, we aligned it with good health and well-being. The quality education was because they had trained community animators. No, they have in the villages where we have local youth being trained on how they can what they say do the basic paramedic sort of a support for the communities living in the area. So they train these ASHA workers, they say, which is being provided with government support in the local communities, and in vision care centers being started. Gender equality, because they focus on empowering women to take leadership roles. They had this RO plants and water RO plants where they have the bubble top waters, no, where they could refill and sell it at a cost. So they had got women self-help groups, or Mahila Pani Samitis, we call in Hindi, being formed in the region. So these women were empowered to take up these leadership roles. So they can have more monies coming into their self-help groups where they could have more women accessing this credit. So we aligned with gender equality. So this particular program has got 17 such programs aligning with. Yeah, so water and sanitation, with solar programs aligning with affordable and clean energy. And when they had more of employment opportunities, that is aligned with decent work and economic growth. And when the water harvesting infrastructure, like check dams, trenches, the watershed program was done, we aligned it with the SDG 9, which talks of innovation infrastructure. Though not much of innovation, but at least with the infrastructure, we could align with. The small and medium enterprises, for small landlords or smallholder farmers, was actually an advantage in these remote areas in Maharashtra, where we had tribal women having access to healthcare. Yeah, and also the tribal population now have clean energy, solar energy, fitted panels to recharge the mobiles or to have access to lights in the evening times. So all these inputs have mitigated the migration pattern from the rural areas to the urban areas, and the watershed program having more income from the farmlands coming in. We say that yes, SDGs 11, they have sustainable cities and communities. So farmers are happy to live in their village and not migrate anywhere else. So the next generation, probably for education reasons, they would have migrated. The farmers, most of them prefer to continue living in their own villages. So again, we're avoiding the wastage of rainwater with all the trenches and the ponds deepening and check dams and all being done there. So responsible consumption and production was one of the global agenda they adhered to. So again, with watershed and rainfall management systems, rejuvenating the environment, we were addressing the climate action. Yeah, and by desilting the ponds, life below water, we also could see that the cattle and like how the cattle was benefited from the life on land, life below water also was taken care because they had fresh water and there was no pollution here. So this was peace justice institutions, because they were part of community ownership for the solar project and the watershed project. So inclusive decision making was part of the agenda here, and all of them with partnering with local NGOs for implementation. So a project may be large, may be small, it could be just a one-off program, it could be a hospital. One more example, I don't have time for that. Just a hospital providing healthcare, but still you can align it to 7 or 8 SDGs that providing healthcare, how you can link it up to better income levels or lack of unemployment rate. Yeah, because of the health reasons, they can continue working in the job, but have more number of working hours being clocked and more income adding thereafter. So it is, I will not say it's very simple. You have to understand the nuances, get through the thorough reading of SDGs and indicators. And if you have any national level indicators, get thorough on that. And then once you have impact map ready and the outcomes again chalked after your first level of discussion with the client is done, you can easily arrive at the SDG mapping for the organization. So I think I'll stop here. Lata has joined. Lata, you want to add anything to this?
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, she's
Lata,
on mute. I think she's connected over phone. Yeah, she's
Hi.
Hi.
hi, Lata.
Hi. Nice to talk to you after a long time. Good morning to all of you.
Good afternoon to you.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as Banu was telling, everybody is excited that we have included the SDG component into the social accounts now, because they feel they are also doing something to not only to the local communities where they serve, but also they are contributing to the sustainable development goals, which makes them feel very good about it. So we are also happy to just introduce one section within the report. And it also helps us in the recommendation section also. For us, it gives a clarity as what they could do to make them align with more other goals, and we can give it in the recommendation section.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you. So is that in the is it in the compliance section of the report that you are using the SDGs, or in the main body text of the report?
In the
As an
main
annexure.
body, in the social impact, or as an annexure, we do it.
Okay. No, that's brilliant. Thank you. Has anybody got any questions now for Banu or Lata, or can I just whiz through a few slides myself? Any questions quickly? Priya.
Hi, morning
Hi.
and afternoon.
Morning.
My question around aligning an activity or a project can be big. It may have multiple components. Sometimes I struggle whether it should be like, is there a mandate which says you align it to only one SDG? For example, something on education can be fighting poverty and also education, right? So is it okay to do that, or do we need to?
In fact, advantages to have alignment to more than one SDGs, because you can always link the no poverty means again having a health program because no hunger and having nutritious food. So you can see how, but you should have indicators to say that, measurable indicators to say that this is the reason why you're aligning to the SDG. So not making a long list saying that we're having all these adhered to. To be able to justify the reason why you're aligning. So in that chart I showed you for each organization, each activity, I'm narrating why I'm saying SDG 1 or 2 or 3. So that will come out. Because these corporates would like to flash it on their website saying they're aligning to the global agenda, and they also need reason to say that why they're doing it.
Yeah, because all the SDGs are interlinked. So you can't say that it's only aligning to one goal. So that we keep telling everybody that even if you're working with health, automatically you're also working towards the other goals. So you don't have to only necessarily say it's one goal. There are direct goals for, there are direct activities for one goal, and there could be some indirect activities for the other goals also.
That's helpful. So
yes, Dave.
So there is no pressure on any company that you are better because you're doing aligning to say 10 out of 17, whereas even if you do one, that is equally good, right?
Yeah, that is
no
what we
compulsion
tell
as
them.
of now.
But they are all happy if they say, so next time when I do the audit, I should see to it that I'm there in all the 17 is what they put goals for themselves. So there has been a few organizations which over a period of 2-3 years have started reporting on all the 17. So it makes them do little more constructive and focused work.
My contribution was going to be, I guess, might support what the discussion we just had, is that you can be more granular than just the 17 goals, because there's 169 targets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So underneath each goal, there's a number of targets, which is if you, and then you can probably see that the work that you're doing fits better with some of those and will contribute to one of the 17 goals.
Yes.
It's like no poverty is like, whereas there's about 7 or 8 different targets there, which then become sort of can link with the reality of the projects and the outcomes that you're looking for yourself within your own project and your own, your organization. So I think that's probably quite a useful thing to look through. So when you're mapping your activity against the SDGs, actually it's probably important to link it to the target that's there, and then from that there's an indicator which then you can use. So it then becomes much more practical, I think, in the way you apply it.
It's an exercise which you can do it with your team.
Yes.
You're doing a project evaluation, and that matrix I shared last time along with Lata, we had showed an Excel where we have got these indicators linked with each of the SDGs and how you could chalk them as a mapping tool, and be easier for you to come out with which SDGs are aligning to which of the projects you are working with. So it's an exercise which you can do with your team along with the client whom you're auditing, and it's simpler for you to get this list.
I think
the one big problem which we have faced is most of them do not work towards those environmental goals. So our green office checklist is a real eye opener for them. They say, oh, we don't work on any environmental issues, because obviously the environmental goals in that are little, it's on a deeper level. So then we say, okay, don't feel bad about it. Just do the green office checklist for now.
Yeah, sure.
And next year, so that's what we feel, as though the social accounting it's just a step towards that. So it becomes easy for them to also start working on some environmental initiatives, and then they'll say, okay, I'll work towards that. But basic things like, we have this rainwater harvesting, every building has to do it. So we'll say, you are working towards life underwater and things like that, though you do not know about it, but there are some small activities which make you also where you're contributing towards that goal. So it's very interesting, they all want to now work towards the goal.
I think it's a very positive outcome, as you say, within a team having that discussion, because it opens up that whole new world of widening your horizons in terms of what with your organization, what you're actually contributing to, that it's got a bigger picture than just the very focused thing that you're doing perhaps in your own neighborhood or whatever.
So Bayu has put a question in the chat.
Yes.
Saying, Banu, do you want to respond?
Sure. SDGs implementation by a corporate, they report it in a sustainability report, both separately or combined in annual report. Again, it's a prerogative of the corporate how they want to report on it. Annual report, yes. In fact, SAN India or CSIM for that matter, we have the SDG alignment as part of our annual report, and we have put up in our website. So, like Lata said, we can either put it in the main report or as an annexure, but as long as you report, we're happy about it. It's possible to apply this social accounting in CSR report? Yes, we can.
There are many organizations which want it in their dashboard, in their CSR page, saying that, oh, we contribute to, they just put those icons of the goals and they say we contribute to 10 goals and 18 goals. So after the report comes, they're able to put it in their dashboard. So they're all quite happy to, have this also part of the report, and it adds value to them in that way. As of now, nobody is into really measuring. That is there because it's only now they're all into the alignment stage. So we keep telling them at least for 1 or 2 years, you try to get into the alignment stage, after which we could probably do a lot of measurement which you want by giving numbers and all that. And most of the measurement is, for the environmental goals only. You need to measure all those. A lot of things need to be measured, not the others. which is quite simple because we do in our social audit report itself, most of it comes, like most of the measurements are there. But only in case of the environment goals, a lot of measurement and them making them collect data is becoming mandatory for all those greenhouse gases and all that, which they'll have to report on, saying that this much has been saved by us and all that. So otherwise, the other two pillars is very easy. The social pillar and the economic pillar is more similar to all the things which we do in our report. It's only the environment pillar which we also need to really, think of how to help them to measure such things.
Okay. Are there any other questions just now? Keep thinking. I've got a few slides which just sorry, trying to present it. There we go. Okay. So, and hopefully I'm not going to duplicate some of the things that Anna and Lasse were saying. So again, there's a link through to the goals and the targets and the indicators. So, and I was just doing a little bit of research on this, and there's quite a lot online about using the SDGs in impact reporting, I think more corporately than maybe for smaller voluntary community, NGOs, etc. But here's some figures from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So it does look like, certainly in the corporate sector, SDGs are being used quite widely in impact reporting.
Yes.
So, and maybe these are some of the reasons why. So certainly a move towards standardization and sort of organizations using similar impact frameworks, so that, they're using them and thinking about what they're doing, how they can measure it. So a push towards using the SDGs as something that has international meaning, global meaning. Also, I think the profile of the SDGs, certainly in this country, is increasing. And that means that, people are interested in working for businesses that have an SDG, a social, environmental and economic conscience. And it's how far does this get into marketing of organizations and businesses? But then I think the final point is the important one, that, how can we do this in a way that means that social impact has become a centerpiece of business strategy? And there's some videos here on and links to things that you can look at to sort of think about how different businesses are doing that. Lisa sent me a link to this. So there's an organization in Liverpool who are looking at open source data platform around the SDGs, and there's an event there on the 21st of October, which you might want to join to find out more about this Sustainable Development Goals data platform. I'm not clear, Lisa, is this only for Liverpool or is it a wider thing?
I think the platform has been established or set up as a Liverpool citywide initiative, but I'm sure the organization itself is very much outward looking. So I think there's opportunity there for information to be shared, but the collection, my understanding is that it's to be focused on the Liverpool City region.
Brilliant, thank you. In a way, Banu, that sounds similar to what you were talking about, using apps to collect data within an organization and then between organizations. So absolutely, it feels like there's quite a bit of work going on in that space. Some of the other examples, I think, I know Dave has spoken previously about work happening in the faith sector, particularly Church of England has been doing a lot of work around something called real world impact, which picks up on the SDGs, also CAFOD as well. There's something here called Impactosaurus, which has been launched by the Church of England. So again, looking at different ways and reporting frameworks in different sectors now, and certainly the faith sector is leading in the UK on that. I've also put a link to Sam's partners with W+, which is Vera, and they actually publish a template for SDG reporting. And that is used for collection of data on the ground and for their outreach and audit with projects across the world. I've also, I'm aware, so apologies, SVI is Social Value International, and they are developing and delivering training on SDG impact standards for enterprises. So there's a link through there to find out more. And the International B Corporation has just published a new tool called SDG Action, again, to encourage B Corps to collect data and report against the SDGs. And then there's another video there to look at, which is about how businesses are using SDGs in their impact reporting. So I guess my questions are, where do we start with this? Can you use the SDGs as a framework to sort of think about what you do? That sort of mapping, very simple mapping that Banu and Latta were talking about. I wonder if, you can go as far as using the measures and indicators that sit behind them. I know some of them might be a little bit too ambitious, certainly initially, because I think they're supposed to be for global or country reporting. So, things like, United Kingdom's reporting in against certain indicators. So some of them might be population level rather than useful in social accounting. Maybe selecting the most relevant SDGs. I think Banu is saying, some of the organizations are just reporting against a small number of them. Could you cross-reference your social accounting to the SDGs? I think I like that one because it does feel, as you've said, that one project might be delivering against several of the SDGs. So is it more of a case of write your social accounts and then talk about the impact, but then actually benchmark against the relevant SDGs to the work that you're doing? So it comes that way rather than starting with the SDGs. Or could you use it to build some form of impact map? So a bit like this, what are we doing? What are the activities around the first SDG? And what sort of measures might we be using to measure them? That takes it a little bit beyond that initial alignment, but actually thinking into what are the impact maps that you're using in your social accounting. I'm going to stop there and sort of throw it open to discussion. Dave's put another link into the chat for people.
If I just explain that, if you find that page and scroll down, it's got each of the 17 goals. But if you go to the more information and click on that, then it breaks it down into the individual targets. So there's, if you just scroll it down, so it's that's quite a good one to look at. Targets, and there's a menu there. It says overview and then targets and indicators. Then it's got all the indicators, all the targets, and then the indicators on a drop-down menu.
And yes, we will share presentations. So, sorry, Latta.
Yeah, so I was just, your slide, the last slide, which you put up, Annie, which says, where do you start? I think we start from the bottom, which you mentioned. We start with the impact map as usual. And in our impact map, instead of we putting an SDG for every SDG, an impact map is not what we do. So when we do the impact map, for every activity, we add one more column called the SDG. So there's impact, the output, outcome, You can have impact and then you have SDG. So at that point only you can relevantly put no, because if you're doing something with regard to livelihood, obviously you're working towards creating, you're working towards zero poverty, you're working towards better workforce. There are 2-3 indicators. So you have to add one more column in the impact map, which is SDGs. So it becomes very easy for us also. When we write about the alignment, we can just pick up, okay, all these 5 came from these activities, and it becomes easy to report. So that is the way we start. We start with the usual impact map, and then we try to bring in the alignment, because when we do that, it also gives us a lot of indicators. That there is a reference bank there of SDG indicators, and we can tell them, yes, this indicator is there, and this could be your output or outcome also. So it becomes very easy as a reference point to do. Instead of us doing an impact map for every SDG, I would only suggest that in your impact map, add another column SDG. It becomes very easy to do it. The mapping becomes very simple.
I think if you're a social purpose organization, everything you do, there will be an SDG to link it to.
Yeah,
it's quite
be.
Comprehensive in what it covers. So it's.
So when we were doing we did a course in social entrepreneurship where we had a lot of corporates who enrolled in the course, and the main focus of that course was on talking about shared value, and they understood the concept shared value. But then once we did the SDGs, it really made them understand more. It really gave them an avenue to say, yes, we are doing all this, and they brought out the shared value very well by understanding the SDGs and reporting and saying that, yes, if we could report on the SDG alignment, that itself tells us what we are doing for both the environment, for the community, for the people, the planet. Everything was, they could understand it so well, so we never realized that this would be the high point for them. We were shocked when they said that was a real eye-opener for us. The SDG session was the eye-opener, was what came out from that entrepreneurship program. And then they all went back to their corporates and they started, working on it and understanding how they're contributing to it and reading the material which we gave and the indicators. There should be some homework that these people should do. And there's so much of information in the internet on this. And some lovely videos are there, which really explains each goal very well, and it's very nice. There's a lot of research that's happened before they came out with this. We should really appreciate that. And we have another person, one social entrepreneur whom we are associated with. He's coming out with an SDG tracker. He's saying SDGs is something which households should have. If every household, if every family can track in what way they are working towards it was amazing the way he has envisioned it. He says, I'm going to give them a calendar with all the SDGs, and every day or every week they just sit back and say in what ways they've contributed to each goal, the entire family. Then the family is going to become a socially conscious family, and the world is going to be better. That was amazing. He was talking about this, and we are going to sit with him and evolve a calendar which could be a SDG tracker and given to all families. The children should be trained on it. Every activity is related somehow, no? So how did you contribute to the world? What did you do for the water? What did you do for the land? Anything, any SDG, some activity you can bring it. So this was another amazing thing which happened last month, and we were all saying, okay, we should do something about this and come out with some nice calendar or something with called the SDG tracker and give it to all the children.
Can I ask a question, please? In India, do you have you changed the audit, the questions or the framework you use in audit to include SDGs, or is it just the report that talks about the SDG alignment?
No, we are only using this as an annexure. So we have not changed the reporting format of the social accounting remains the same. We follow the same things, but this we bring in as an annexure. It also helps us to give the recommendations and all that, no? So we use it as a tool to write the report in a much better way. So it's just enabled us to write more effective reports. For instance, we are doing an audit of a college now, so that they want us to also know, are we in line with the SDGs? So everybody is now, because that's a buzzword, they said, okay, tell us which are the SDGs we are working with. So we're just going to give them a one-pager on saying, yes, you're working in all these SDGs also. We don't do any specific SDG reporting per se. We have, because for that you need to do a lot of measurements. That reporting is, I think, totally different. We've still not got into that. But we only use this as a tool to help in talking about their impact in a much effective way. And they feel happy that they are contributing to the global goals also.
That's good. Do you what do you think, anybody here, where do you think this will almost like go next? Do you think this is going to be expected in reporting moving forward?
Can I come in there? And I think just to pick up on, I noticed that Priya had a message in the chat, a comment in the chat, and I think these are related. And I do think SDG are much more commonly understood, and the language is being used much more than it has been, certainly in the UK. And I'm seeing certainly working with younger people and with graduates, there's an expectation, and they will choose where to work. They will make their decisions informed by these kind of more social, environmental, ethical decision making. And we see it, as buyers, as employees. So I think increasingly it is becoming almost expected, and which perhaps, and then that feeds into your direct question, are we seeing more of it? And I think we have to see more of it if we're going to stay relevant and to keep relevant. And I think it's a little bit frustrating for those of us perhaps who've been working in the social economy for a while and understand that these things have been there and have identified the commonalities. But now I think there really is an opportunity for much greater alignment. And I really find it very, very helpful, from Banu's presentation and your feedback, Lata, to see how practical it can be and how easy to start that conversation and to move things forward. And have already, made lists for myself to think how I could interpret this and integrate it into a couple of different scenarios, social reporting, but also thinking about small business planning and decision making. And I think it's more relevant, and I think there's a hunger or an appetite for it as well. Priya, yes. Did you want to respond? It was your question.
Yeah. I think Colette, I think she had her hand raised before me and Dave. Go ahead, Colette.
Okay. Yeah, firstly, I'll just agree with everything Lisa said. But yeah, the reason I joined this session was because it's something that I have been hearing more and more about over the last couple of years. And it's on my to-do list to look at it and to maybe start using it. And I just haven't so far, made the time to do that. And so this was the start of that for me, really. But yeah, definitely hearing more about it in the UK. And I think also, certainly, so I'm from the housing sector, a growing area for us is ESG reporting. And if we're going to be going out looking for financial investment, how that market is changing and how that audience is expecting more. And I think I just wrote a note down to have a look at that. It's something that struck me during Banu's presentation, that I thought actually that could be an audience that is going to really increase demand on linking our reporting to sustainable development goals. So yeah, I definitely think it's an area we need to know more about and need to start using.
Who was it, Priya or Dave next?
Dave.
I put in the chat earlier about an organization called Prospera, which I had contact with recently, where they did a presentation. It was part of a webinar that they've it's fairly new. It's an entrepreneurial sort of approach, but they work with companies, so in the corporate sector, like Anne was saying, in terms of their corporate social responsibility and what they offer as a service to help the corporates to map their corporate social responsibility against the SDGs, and then to look at how they can measure the impact of what they're doing. So it's quite a fresh approach, and I thought there's a lot of alignment with what we're doing, and I think it's really helpful. Just on another tack, I'm doing my community development work linked with a local Sainsbury's that's being built, and they wanted their management team to come and do some work in a project that I was doing, and it just struck me how are they measuring the impact of what they're doing, because and that's all about, you know, the reasons corporates get involved is because it's good for customers. It's good for employees. There's a lot of evidence that employees choose the company they work for based on the contribution they make to the community. And it's like everybody wins. And obviously, if they're going to help a social purpose organization, the organization has a big win as well. So it's just great, I think, how the SDGs become a common language, where and it's because it's so, as I said before, it's all embracing. It's a common language, and then you can. That's really helpful when you're trying to create dialogue and collaboration, etc. To bring the corporates in on that basis, to bring funders in. You know, we're all talking the same thing and contributing to the same. So I just think that's really. I think it's great to see. I think for me, it's opened up a new window of work and a whole new window of understanding.
My experience so far has been slightly mixed, because I'm based here, but as you know, I come from India. I still do a lot of work with the CSR fraternity in India and also the third sector. And I am also deeply engaged with various third sector organizations in the UK. And I see there is an increasing enthusiasm, as Marie and Lata have shared, in India to willingly adopt SDG, and many common people, especially the NGO sector, quite immersed in this language of SDG. In the UK, actually, I have had an experience where people have been working for various, biodiversity projects, environmental projects, and a lot of local causes, but they don't feel there is any need to align to SDG. What does SDG mean? Like, not even aware of the terminology. And I appreciate them, because what they are doing is already creating a lot of impact. So their thinking is, why should I align? I mean, what does this mean to us? So I liked it, because there's no need, because they are creating a value without having. So I don't know. That's why my uptake. And there is also a lot of cynicism with adopting SDG by commoners. I'm not talking about people like you and me who are into CSR, social impacts and social value. There's like, who has given these terms and why should we adopt? What does these, I mean, is this all politics? I mean, I had no answers, because my work increasingly is I'm trying to see how to create. So I'm in the social value sector. I'm trying to associate people to SDGs so that they see the bigger picture. But I do face the cynicism, saying who has created, because there is a clearly dysfunction in the society, isn't it, between the language that's being spoken by leaders who give these terms and what is being demonstrated across countries. So I feel if I connect with them easily, when I say homelessness, they understand. But if I say such big jargons of SDG, it just disassociates, because they feel these are all given by some, very powerful people. We are out of reach. So I don't know. I became a bit confused in between, as old as last week, saying, am I going in the right direction? Should I align these people to SDGs, or should I hold back? Because if I say litter picking, they understand. If I say, beach cleaning, but if I say, life underwater or big, it just disassociates, saying it. So I was a bit confused, like, where is the trend? And sorry, but I wanted to just, discuss this with you today.
Look at the targets.
Lata will respond to that.
Then you can make it relevant to what they're doing.
Hmm.
It really breaks it down when you take poverty and break it down into 7 or 8 different targets. Then it relates, the titles there relate to activity that you're doing, and then you see that it contributes to the whole thing of no poverty, which is huge, isn't it? I mean, that's just.
And then it feels so idealistic, Dave, that people feel that why should we use all these things? This is disassociating us from. So let us talk about what we can do and be happy with it. So there is a bit of disconnect that way.
I've put another link in, which is to a YouTube video that explains in very simple terms. It's a lovely little video, and they use a thing called the wedding cake, different tiers of importance with the social, economic, and environmental categorization of things. So that might be a useful resource to start people off.
Brilliant, thanks, Dave. Andy.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. For my mind has got blown this morning, and it's just almost a direct answer to what you're questioning, Priya. I'm coming at this, and I've come today because I've moved hats since I was involved with Sam before when I was with Tradecraft. Now I'm with Jubilee Plus, which is working on the impact of social action projects, at least in a box at the moment with the UK. And what this has opened out for me this morning is almost a direct point to say, if we are truly global citizens, if we truly then have a common language that fits into an SDG, there is a danger without that just as we see in the UK press, we sort of debates around the 0.7%, no, it's 0.5%, no, you've miscounted and misaccounted it. It's something that happens here in the UK, and then something happens in overseas development. For me, this is a cultural point about creating a language that says that everybody is a global citizen, that everybody gets a recognition of the fact that environmental issues, homelessness, lack of education, we see that even in an economy that wouldn't see itself as a developing economy like the UK, we have massive injustice. We have massive sectors of society that are excluded and need to be aligned with sustainable development. And if we get citizens, corporates, policymakers, grant-making bodies, and it's no longer about international development versus domestic development, it's about development. And for me, this actually builds a framework of a language that we can all start to speak, which starts to build activism, which will help fund, individual commitment to both international development or domestic development where there's injustice. So that's a light bulb that just come on for me this morning. I didn't see before this webinar. So that's just proof. Thank you. And if Priya, you've got a concern, this is all about politics. I think it's the other way around. I think it's about democratizing the concepts in a way that everyday language can begin to say, which breaks down barriers between us here and them somewhere else who are having poverty issues. No, we're all global citizens.
It's a good way of putting it.
And I think that's a perfect way to end. And thank you so much for what's been a really useful hour. I will send round the slides that we've used and also a copy of the chat with the links in to everybody who's been here today. If you do have any further thoughts, and then please email back to the Social Audit Network. But that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming along this afternoon. Sorry.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
Look forward
Thank
to
you.
more sessions.
See you soon.
Your team. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
It's okay. You're on mute, Lisa.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was really very nice, actually. I think having small groups like that works very nicely. How often do we get the opportunity to have a conversation like that and to have that different input.
And I think everyone was engaged, weren't they? Even the ones that weren't talking, or had their cameras off, they were listening and they were putting comments in. And then, you know, like Andy came in at the end, it was like, wow, you know.
Yeah, yeah, very nice, very good. And yeah, it's made me think, oh, well, we need to have this in our PIA of an SDG.
Well, yeah, no, I think as a very minimum, maybe, I was just thinking, as a very minimum, maybe we reissue the impact map if they've done. So I could look at the impact, or some of it, one of us could look at the impact map maybe. I think for me it fits in the compliance stuff, doesn't it? You do what you do, but actually how does that align? And I think that's the light bulb moment once you then checked what you're doing with the SDGs. It's almost like, and then you can improve.
Yeah,
and
like
then
an SDG lens.
Yeah. So you do your social accounts, you look at the alignment with the SDGs, and then that goes into your business planning, doesn't it? It's almost like it's a filter for how can we do more.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know, but yeah, I think it would be good, wouldn't it, to just take some of this the presentations from here and just put it as just a short section in the PIA.
I think we should. I think people will like it. You know, there's so much. It is. I think Priya's spot on about the language.
Yeah.
You know, but and actually, it was Andy. Do you know Andy Biggs? Have you
met him a couple of. I think he's been to some SAN events before. Like I say, when he worked for Tradecraft, I think he actually spoke at one of our. It might have been the Liverpool one that you missed.
Oh, right.
He's been involved in a workshop because Dave knows him, I think, and I've met him a few times.
Yeah. So yeah, I think very, very interesting. Good to have those wider conversations, and really nice to make the connections with SAN India. Very exciting as well. Yeah.
The other thing that's flagged up for me, and I'm taking this back to my day job, is that there's a real risk that yet again the social economy hangs behind, because businesses are actually getting ahead with this. They've really, you know, the sort of corporate sector has really grasped the SDGs and you know, are taking it into that sort of business planning and marketing and recruitment type area that you were talking about. There's a risk that our colleagues in the social economy just go, well, we've been doing it for years, so we don't need to.
Yeah, we take it for granted.
Yeah. And that worries me. But anyway, that's just another conversation. Right, I will send around the slides later on. Yeah, and I also, because I've been away, but I'll do a note coming back with this is what I think the new dates that we're setting look like for events and things like this. You know, like a schedule of events. Okay. You know, just so we can see what's happening and when. And then just double check in with yourself and Karen and Liz and things, you know, and oh, sorry, no, it was with Colette and Karen, wasn't it? You know, when do you want me to set up what day and what time? Do you want me to set up meetings and things like that? Anyway.
Yeah, and I think that would be more relevant. And you know, I suggested that the W+ one. I even think I see it slipping again. You know, so I would in terms of our actual activity. So I think that's something that could be pushed forward. So if we have theirs and a PIA before the end of the year, I think that's loads. So the one on, so we have the environmental one rerun, yeah, but with input from W+ if possible. I don't know whether we'll be able to. I don't know how relevant it is or how much value it would add at this point. No, I think that's fine. I think if we run that one again, yeah, and do the PIA, that's probably enough, isn't it? That's plenty, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I also do think from some of the feedback that well-being would be a good. Well-being feels like, I was reading something that's come out from government on levelling up, and of you know, of the non let's build lots of things bit, you know, people's well-being feels like the thing that
will come into focus again.
Yeah, and it fits very neatly with it as an SDG.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all comes together. Okay. All right, that was, yeah, good. I'm glad I was able to join you. Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
Anne, for doing that.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
All right, see you soon. Take
See you
care.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.